Okay, so I've got something really annoying happening today when I lock the car. Doesn't matter if I do it by the key or if I do it by the fob. So the door's locked, car unlocks itself. Only door it does it with. So if I do it by the key fob, come to the back door, car unlocks itself. So I'm going to take the door trim off and have a look what's going on. Alright, so we want to remove the screw that's in here. Now, probably want to put WD-40 in there first, let it rest. I did, because when I looked in there, mine looked all rusty, my screw looked all rusty, so I thought better put some WD-40 in there first. Don't want to mess that screw up, because then that'll just make getting this door trim off impossible. So get that out of there, take the door handle off, so just undo the screw there, get that off. 2 screws on the bottom, 1 screw on the end here, and then just pull the trim off away from the car. Pretty easy. Let's try and get a bit of a look in there first. I think the Actuator itself is a problem, and this here would be for, what's that option there for? The handle must be compatible with another vehicle to have that option there. Anyway, we're going to take this Actuator out, so it looks like it's probably a T25 socket. So we'll get this out, take it out and have a look what's going on. Maybe there's something that's obvious that I can repair, or maybe it's time to replace it. Okay, so to remove it, I was T30s, not T25s. And unattach that bar there, right there. Just lever that piece there off it. Pull that out. And I'm going to have to unclip here. Just push those clips in with a, or I could probably do it with my hand, but get a pliers or something just to squeeze that, push that free so you can loosen off that power cord that's behind it, and then we'll get this out. So lock this yourself, just push a bar through like I did or something, just to make sure that latch is locked, and you can see what's going on. Watch this part here, because that's supposed to be the lock and unlock. So it's hardly moving. I'm going to pull this apart and see if there's some way to repair that. Okay, so first of all we're going to just cut these cable ties here, and then we'll open her up and have a look what's going on with this Actuator. Okay, so there's no obvious problems with the reason why that shouldn't work, and this here is working as well. Nothing's broken. But I do see one thing that's a problem. It looks like the motor is burnt out. So I'll try and get that motor out, and we'll have a look on the inside. And I might have to order a new motor. So just be careful when you take this out. This spring here is pushing against the end there, and it will come in, it will spring out if you're not careful. I was holding my hand there like that because I didn't know if anything was going to spring loose, being the first time pulling one of these apart, and I was right that this spring here is spring loaded, so when you put it in, it'll have to go in like that. I wouldn't be able to record that at the same time, but as I put it in, but you get the idea of how that would go back in. So that comes out first, and then the motor just pulls out, and now we'll get to the motor and see if there's something I can do in there or track down another motor. Alright, so I got a bit of luck. I got this old Actuator from a Magna Mitsubishi that the motor inside it is exactly the same. That's the motor there. These here just unclip from the motors like so, so I can swap the motor over easily enough. I just need to trim this shaft to be the same length as that one, swap the gear over, and we should be right to go. Okay, before I go shortening this, I just want to show you that there is a difference in the shaft. So it's got the flat point on it and the Falcon one doesn't, but that shouldn't matter because I can't push this gear on by hand, so I don't think it's going to slip. Should be fine. So once I get that short, I'll tap that gear on and we should be right to go. Okay, so that's done. It's a lot easier to turn than what the Falcon one was, but we'll just have to see how this turns out. Just making sure that it goes in there right, and it turns easy. It doesn't look like it matters which way that goes, but because it's got the white grease on it, and there's white grease in there, I'll put it on that way. Oh, I'm gonna have to put the gear side in first. It's alright. The spring's not that hard. Let's get the spring out of the way for a minute. Oh, I say the spring has to, on both sides, the springs have to be adjusted, like moved into position. It is a little bit tricky, this part. It does, because it's been out now, it wants to come out again. I don't know if that's how it's supposed to feel, but it does return easy. It just feels a bit clunky. Oh, it looks like I messed up the gear in there a little bit. I was a little bit too rough for getting it out, and a couple of those gears are a bit offset. You know, they're a bit twisted, sort of. So I'm hoping that it works itself out. I don't know if this is going to work or not now, but I'm still going to put it in. Still need a working door. I'm just putting plenty of grease in there, make sure she's got lots of lube. If it works, at least it'll get me out of trouble for a little while. So you can see how those wires come back around in there, like that there. I was just making sure that that part there is going to go in there okay with that connection. I'll put these screws back in and we'll connect it up to the car and see what happens. Okay, well, it's a little bit noisy, but I'm not going to complain. I just need to fix my key fob up, but that's working beautiful. Okay, so I had the dog back together and then realised that the motor that I put in there for the magnet actually rotates the opposite way. So when I lock the car, it unlocks this door, or when I unlock the car, this door locks. So it's just a matter of swapping those two wires around. There's no problems. The problem that I'm facing here is this. You see how the cable fittings come out of the handle here? You can't unbolt this. I've tried to give it a whack with a screwdriver, hoping that they unturned, but they don't. They're just rivets with metal centers, and a grinder can't get into that to trim them off. And with the bits sticking out there, there's no way to get a drill onto that unless I try and come in on an angle, which is maybe what I have to do. But at the moment, I'm going to take this handle itself off. It's spring loaded, so I'm not really too sure what's going to be involved there. But you can see I've already started lifting that pin there. So that was just a matter of getting a screwdriver underneath that and just lifting it up a little. Now I can pull that pin all the way out, and like I said, that's spring loaded, so that's going to pop out on me. The thing is, how will I get that spring back in there, but it might be what I have to do to be able to get access to that there as well, because the handle's kind of in the way there to be able to get to that. So that's what I'm going to do right now. Show you what's going on here, fix this part of the cable up, and then I'm going to take that mechanism back out there and swap the two wires on that motor around. Okay, so this is what the handle's like when it's off. To get that clip back on. Now it can be done, but it's tricky. The spring goes back on this way, because when you take it off, it springs into, and it looks like that when you take it off. So the spring's got to come back out like this. The shaft of this plastic shaft has to go through the spring as well when you push this down. And the trick is, and I can't show you doing it at the same time, but you've got to have this pretty much like that. Get the handle on as far as you can and get that first clip in, which would be about there. Then you're going to use your finger just to push against that. You might use a screwdriver, but I was able to do it with my finger, just to push against the spring a little bit. Just to push against the spring a little bit, so the shafts can fit between, down inside it. And then once you get there, you get down to the bottom part, and then you have to get a screwdriver as well to push that plastic part around to line it up with the bottom and get that pin right through. I took it all apart just for video purposes, but it took me a good half an hour of mucking around, so I'm going to be putting that back in now, and then I'll switch the wires around on this Actuator. Okay, so hopefully you can see in there, it's back together now. You can see the part there is coming around right there, and the shaft is going back through the spring there. So it can be done, it's just a little tricky. Alright, well, successful. All I do is switch those two pins there around, and that was pretty easy to do. I'll just do a still of that and show you where you have to press to get those pins out. So if you press those pins right there on the inside of the plug and pull the outside, they come out easy. Okay, so this is lock. It's a little bit noisy because I damaged that gear a little bit, but she works nonetheless. And that's working too now. That springs back in where it should be. You know, I bought this car in 2000. I've got bugger all videos on it because this car's just never gives me a problem. So you can understand from the age now that there's going to be a couple of problems here and there, but over all in all, this car has gone so many years without needing anything more than a service. Alright, well, I'll put this door all back together now, the same way I pulled it apart, and just give it one last test run and it's done. Okay, so the door's back together. I'd like to mention something else though. I don't know why the handles get put on factory that they face the other way, like you can see on that window over there. Why do they get pointed the other way? So even if there's nobody in the back seat, you go over a road that's bumpy and so forth, and these handles are here, it's just the weight of the handle itself, even though there's really no weight in it, just the bouncing of it slowly puts the window down. So if you're ever wondering why is this window at the back go down when there's nobody ever in the back seat, because the handle is on the wrong side. So when you put it back on, I'm going to change that side just because why not. When you put the handle back on, I've been meaning to do it for ages, put them on this side, just a lazy moment, you know, when you open the door, you know, screw it, just wind it back, close again, get to it later. So I'm actually going to do it now, fix that other side up. But moment of truth, we'll give this we'll give this door one last test. See that, it still works nice there. And with the key. Alrighty, well, catch us next time. Cheers.